Wilson is here at 3 o'clock to give us a PowerPoint presentation and an update from the Economic Development Committee. So I would invite you within the rail to make your presentation.
Thank you.
Welcome, Paul.
Good afternoon. Is the mic on? Can you hear me? Didn't need it. Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much for giving us an opportunity today to give you an update on the Economic Development Action Plan that we've come up with. First of all, my name is Paul Wilson, a member of the committee. Jeff Greening is with us in the audience as well. If we get any questions that Jeff needs to help answer. And we'll move on from there. This is about a 10-minute update. I think you've all had an opportunity to look at the report that came through. There's a lot more data behind that report that can be made available to you when you want it. So really, the next 10 minutes are just to talk at a high level about the plan and move us into discussion from there. So as you know, and for the members in the audience, the key objective of the Economic Development Plan, or committee rather, was to assist in discussions and research geared around business retention and expansion, and to encourage employment opportunities within Lambton Shores. The second objective of the committee was to make recommendations to council on economic development issues that might arise. And then lastly, to produce a body of work or a plan that you'll see the highlights of today that will help guide us through planning and into implementation. So next slide, please. Whoever's managing it. Maybe it's me.
That would be you.
I just go like this.
Because your boss is to the left.
So, first of all, just an outline for today, covering off 4 things: what the Economic Development Action Plan development cycle is and how we'll sustain it. Secondly, where we are now, where do we want to be, how do we want to get there, and then some recommendations around next steps. So, what I should do, though, is just take a second and acknowledge that each of the members in the group brought something different to the committee, whether they're staff, council, or residents of the area, whether it's their domain expertise, knowledge of issues, and things like that. So everybody brought something to this recommendation, but we also realized that there's a community that has a lot more information and ideas that need to go into this plan. So we've taken it to a place where we're ready to move into community engagement. So what you see today is really a starting point, and from there we move into the community with these ideas in mind and see how we build them out. But what we do hope is that this plan will provide a 20-year roadmap for the community to help us move forward, developing our economy. On this slide then, what we intended to do and what we've been asked to do is important work. And because of that, it's work that shouldn't be rushed, and a lot of thought and debate and even backwards movement has gone on within the committee as we talk about issues and where we want to go. The second thing is that we definitely understood that no one person held all the answers, and no one person or stakeholder is more important than another. And so with that, we feel the best ideas are still yet to come, and that'll come through debate and conversations within the community. Second of all, we understood, or at least came to understand, that within this plan, we needed to recognize that our economy is really an ecosystem made up of residents, businesses, small businesses, industry, government, service organizations, all with their own unique needs, wants, and constraints, and that through this plan, it's very unlikely that we could build something that delivers everything for everyone. But what we are focusing on are what are the priorities to move the economy forward in Lambton Shores and what's in the best interest of the community at large. So that's really our approach here. Thirdly, we invested a lot of time reviewing previous data reports, recommendations, reached out into the community, and we've spoken with business owners looking for success stories and guidance. And so several things have occurred that way already to help us focus in on what we already consider to be a fairly good economic base and help us focus our thinking around what those top opportunities would be. From there, we also recognize we're working on behalf of council. So you've asked us to put a body of work together, come back to you with those recommendations. And so what we've needed to do, or what we're doing here, is organizing our efforts and time into 4 areas. Planning, implementation, evaluation, and monitoring and updating of the plan. So rather than coming in with tactics right from the get-go, things that we should do, we've invested time around the plan. And that planning process has been fun, it's been challenging, and you know, the more time you spend on it, the more it will change. So at some point you got to move on. So we feel we're at that point in time where we can move on. We're not quite at implementation. This is where we need to move into discussions with council, discussions with the community at large, and then gradually move through that implementation process. So this is the plan, the methodology that we're using, and we're doing that because it is a strategic plan, it's a 20-year plan, and things are always going to be changing. Therefore, you need to be evaluating what you're doing, who it's affecting, and what can we do to improve it along the way. So this is meant to live on, and the people that come on behind us have something to work from and live by. Hopefully it doesn't end up on the shelf and nothing gets done. So we think this is a sustainable plan. Next slide, please. So where are we now? Really 4 points to this that we looked at. One was internal analysis, external analysis, trends, and themes. So there is a ton of information that's been gathered by staff over the last couple of years, talking about specific things, be it culture, leisure, recreation, strategic planning. There's lots of things that you can reach out and read, so we didn't want to ignore it or duplicate it. So we've gone through a lot of different sources. But the first thing we did was an internal analysis. And through that, we used a tool referred to as an economic preparedness survey, where we worked with staff, council, and members of the committee, and really did a survey that involved about 105 questions in 4 or 5 different areas. And really what this survey was meant to do was identify internally what the strengths and weaknesses were of the community's economic development ability. And from that, the findings identified really some areas where we were strong, some areas where we were moderate, and some areas where we were weak. And weak just being we hadn't focused on them, but they were opportunities to strengthen if we wished to. What we uncovered from that was that in the areas of weakness, the need to help with new business formation, strategies for economic development, and attracting new and small, mid-sized businesses to the area. Conversely, where we felt we were fairly strong was the ability to sustain, grow, and work with existing businesses that were in the community. The moderate areas were around infrastructure and foundation, resources available to support economic development. So there is a survey, all of that data is there, answers the 100 questions, so on and so forth. The second thing being external analysis, looking outward now, where we looked at opportunities and threats across 5 sectors. And those sectors were manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, the creative economy, and services. So when we went and looked at those areas, and those, by the way, are the areas where we have the most people working, and that's why we chose those areas. When we looked at those, we did an external analysis where we looked at both opportunities and threats based on the insights of the people and the information we were to gather just through casual conversations. And we came up with a list of opportunities and threats. From there, we assessed and segmented those opportunities and threats and compared them against the strengths that we'd identified in the community. And there were lots of strengths. But what we wanted to do was look at the opportunities and threats and see where our strengths could be leveraged against those. And so we did, and interestingly enough, we identified 17